Okay, so I'm gonna dive into our life coaching tidbit for this stream, and it's about empathy and sympathy, and really why at the heart. Oh, hold on, guys. Why at the heart of it, we all pretty much dislike sympathy. Like, we never like feeling or thinking that somebody is pitying us, right? And that's what sympathy does. So kind of unpacking what they are, how they're similar, how they're different, and then showing us like options that we can do to respond with empathy. Because when we do, our relationships are strengthened and we feel better. And like one of the common themes in resilience is having strong relationships. We are a social species. We are built for connection. And when we do have strong, healthy connections, we're able to bounce back quicker from trauma, overcome past trauma, and like do what SS is doing, which is reaching out in the world and trying new things that are important to you. So all of that is about resiliency, and empathy builds our resilience. All right, okay. So let's see. I get a transition again. Apologies for that. Oh, wait. Oh, no. Hey, it didn't have to do it. All right, didn't get slowed down by the transition animation. Okay, guys. Are you ready for this? So I talked about empathy and sympathy during our 24-hour cast, so some of this may be familiar, but it's absolutely worth going back to over and over and over again, because this is a skill that we build over time, and I learn something new every time I study this again. So the best way to start anything is with a puppet and Mark Ruffalo. So here we go.
Hello, I'm Mark.
And I'm Murray.
No,
and we're
you
here to
can't
tell you
see
about
it.
the word empathy.
Empathy.
Balls.
Yes, empathy.
Tell them about the word empathy.
You guys, I don't know. I have no excuses. No excuses. Now you got the transition. Oh, yeah. Okay. Without further ado, here they are.
And we're here to tell you about the word empathy.
Empathy. Yes, empathy.
Tell them about the word empathy. What's wrong?
You're not gonna believe this, Mark.
What?
But I can't remember what empathy means.
No, that's okay. That's okay. I'll tell them what empathy means.
Oh, boy! This is so exciting. Mark Ruffalo is gonna tell us about empathy. Oh, boy, oh, boy, oh, boy, oh, boy!
I just want to be a
Can I do
puppet.
it?
Go, please, go for it, Mark.
All right. Empathy is when you're able to understand and care about how someone else is feeling.
Oh, right. That's what empathy is.
Yes.
I don't get it.
What?
Sorry.
Okay. Let me see if I can explain it to you in some way.
Okay, I'm gonna listen.
Let's say I'm walking along and
What?
I stubbed my toe. Oh, that hurts.
Oh, you poor thing,
Murray.
Mark. Oh,
Murray.
that hurts. I
It
can
hurts
imagine
so much.
exactly how you feel.
That's
Ouch.
it.
Oh, wow, what's it?
That's it. That's empathy.
What's empathy?
You could imagine exactly how I feel. You could understand just how it felt. That's empathy.
I still don't get it.
What?
I still don't get it.
Okay. Let's think of another way.
Okay, let's think of another way. Thinking.
Oh, Murray.
What?
Did I tell you about that time when I lost my favorite teddy bear?
Oh, no.
It was...
This is very sad. Did you love that teddy bear?
I
Mark?
loved that teddy bear.
Oh, I can imagine exactly how you feel. It's really sad feeling. It makes me want to cry like this.
It was sad. It was so sad. But you know what?
What?
You know what empathy is.
I do?
That was empathy.
What?
You could understand how I was feeling, exactly how I was feeling, and understood it. That's empathy.
I get it now. Yes! Yes, I get it!
Yes!
I understand empathy!
You understand empathy,
I'm
Murray.
so happy right now!
I'm
it
happy
makes me want
too.
to dance the dance of happiness!
I can imagine exactly how you feel. I want to
Me
dance the dance of
too.
happiness too.
Then what are we waiting for?
Let's do
dance! Let's dance!
Empathy!
I've seen that
Don't
video
just
a couple
make a blog.
times. No,
Make
boo,
an
commercial, boo. Okay. All right, guys. Yeah, So that's a fun way to start understanding empathy. Get music going back. Okay, so yeah, so when someone comes to us with their pain, they really want empathy. So they want us to like feel with them, try to understand how they feel, and in some sense, like actually join them in that pain. But what we usually give them is sympathy. And we do that because sympathy is the safe and easy choice. But there's really a problem with sympathy because it hurts trust and breaks down relationships. Whereas empathy, on the other hand, builds trust, strengthens relationships, but it requires us to get vulnerable. And that's why it's harder to do. And that's probably why we don't naturally usually build empathy as a skill, like on our own, like just naturally. Because vulnerability is really challenging. It's really, really scary to do. So sympathy is feeling for somebody, and it comes mostly from the head, and it doesn't really get your heart involved, right? So you often will feel pity for someone when you're sympathetic. Yeah, okay. So we can see that they're in pain, but we're not really moved to get involved. And that's because it's really just our head that's understanding how they feel. And our actions come from our emotions, not our head. So empathy is better for relationships because it builds on and reinforces connection. And it's what happens when we let our sympathetic head response actually connect with our heart. Hey, yes. Well, thank you, Yeti dude. Hey. Yes, I love seeing. Yes, I love that alert. Thank you. It makes me happy. Yeah, so anyways, empathy comes from the German word, which is Einfühling. Einfühling. And it means feeling into. So with that being said, I have another video. It's also short that I want to share with you. And it's much more of the like serious of the two videos today. And it comes from Brené Brown. So a lot of what I'm going to unpack today was informed by Brené Brown's work, and especially coming out of her book Dare to Lead. I'm a huge Brené Brown fan. She's a shame and vulnerability researcher. So a lot of what she comes up with just touches on things that we deal with every single day. But she gives us lots of practical advice and tools, which is why I love her. And she's a straight talking lady, which I also like. So anyways, here is a 3-minute video on empathy by Brené Brown.
So what is empathy, and why is it very different than sympathy? Empathy fuels connection. Sympathy drives disconnection. Empathy, it's very interesting. Teresa Wiseman is a nursing scholar who studied professions, very diverse professions where empathy is relevant, and came up with 4 qualities of empathy. Perspective taking,
Oh no,
the ability to take the perspective of another person or recognize their perspective as their truth. Staying out of judgment, not easy when you enjoy it as much as most of us do. Recognizing emotion in other people and then communicating that. Empathy is feeling with people. And to me, I always think of empathy as this kind of sacred space when someone's kind of in a deep hole and they shout out from the bottom and they say, I'm stuck, it's dark, I'm overwhelmed. And then we look and we say, hey, you climb down. I know what it's like down here, and you're not alone. Sympathy is, ooh, it's bad, no. You want a sandwich? Empathy is a choice, and it's a vulnerable choice, because in order to connect with you, I have to connect with something in myself that knows that feeling. Rarely, if ever, does an empathic response begin with "at least." I had it, yeah. And we do it all the time. Because you know what? Someone just shared something with us that's incredibly painful, and we're trying to silver lining it. I don't think that's a verb, but I'm using it as one. We're trying to put the silver lining around it. So, I had a miscarriage. Oh, at least you know you can get pregnant. I think my marriage is falling apart. At least you have a marriage. John's getting kicked out of school. At least Sarah is an A student. But one of the things we do sometimes in the face of very difficult conversations is we try to make things better. If I share something with you that's very difficult, I'd rather you say, "I don't even know what to say right now. I'm just so glad you told me." Because the truth is, rarely can a response make something better. What makes something better is connection.
All right. Ta-da. Hey, SS, if you want to share your Twitter handle, it might just be Super Ceiling, but if you want to share it with people, feel free to. No pressure either way. But yeah, so sorry you missed your celebration. That sucks. Next time I'll confirm you're here before I do that. Yeah, okay. So, one of the reasons why I love that video is that it really drives home this idea that empathy builds connection, sympathy drives disconnection. And it, like, the fact that it uses humor to show us how, you know, I have certainly done the "at least you don't" or "at least you still," like, silver lining approach. And yeah, and that's bullcrap, right? Like, it doesn't feel good when it happens to you. And we do it because to get down in that hole with somebody, when, like, to meet somebody in their pain and share in the experience of their pain, like, it's vulnerable. Like, because feeling pain is not, obviously it's not pleasant, and it's messy, and you have to, like, sympathy is trying to, like, fix the situation, make it better. So to say, hey, I'm not gonna do that, I'm not gonna try to make this better, I'm just gonna join you in the hurt, dude, that's ballsy, right? Like, that, yeah. So, and I love the fact that she communicates that with the images of the darkness and then the hole, and all of that is just really, really powerful. Hello! Hello, friend. Welcome. So, how does sympathy drive disconnection and empathy drive connection? Like, how does that, like, what is the stuff that's happening in the background that we don't understand but research has revealed to us? So, sympathy again, right, is, oh, I did, and thank you. I just haven't had time yet this morning to, like, actually read it and go in there, but it sounded very interesting, and I am eager to do it, and will do it before the end of the day. Yeah. So thank you, XD. Yes. Okay. So sympathy is feeling for somebody, right? And that's like feeling pity or sadness for somebody's misfortune. But empathy is feeling with somebody. It's understanding their perspective and then sharing in their feelings. Some of the behaviors that, like, there are really, like, 3 main groups of behaviors that we do when we're being sympathetic. One is we run, so running. The other is negating, and the other is judging. So, and then to contrast that with empathy, this will help. No, it won't. No, it won't. Sorry, I'll do that later. To contrast that, it's, instead of running, you stay when you're being empathetic. And instead of negating, you're acknowledging it and you're validating it. And instead of judging it, you're accepting it. So I'm going to unpack those a little bit more. When we run from somebody's pain, we do it by changing the conversation. We do it by taking over the conversation and doing most of the talking. We do it by getting distracted and not being present to somebody. We actually leave, right? Like we could truly run away from the situation. And you also, like, sometimes we make it about ourselves instead of them. So you start like telling your own story, or like you're like, oh yeah, like, you know, you're going through your breakup. Well, let me tell you about my last breakup, right? Like we do that. And another way that we make it about ourselves is by getting so upset that they end up having to comfort us, right? So somehow we like make our emotional needs greater than theirs and turn them into the support person. Very tricksy of us, very tricksy. Yeah, cool. Thank you. That was gonna be my question for you, what our timing was on that. So yeah, I'll get back to you soon, for sure. So instead of running, we can learn to stay. And staying looks like getting down in that hole with somebody where we listen to them, we risk silence. That is one that's particularly challenging for me. We risk silence, and then we accept that we don't need to know the answer, right? So these are things where when we risk silence, we accept that we don't need to know the answer and we just listen. That's us letting go of the need to fix the situation and just being in the mess with them. Instead of negating somebody, we want to acknowledge and validate them. And that looks like saying things like what she said is like, I don't even know what to say right now. I'm just really glad you told me. It's, you know, I'm here. You want to talk about it. And it's saying things like, you know, that sucks. I hate that you have to go through this. Or there's so many ways to do this, right? So you can say like thanks for sharing and trusting me. I'm here for you. The like traditional way to kind of validate somebody is to say something like, it sounds like you feel X about Y or because of Y, and that makes total sense because of this. So for example, let's see if I can come up with one. My best friend just lost her dog and is grieving the loss of her dog. So I'd say it sounds like you feel, you know, angry that Zeus passed away, and that makes total sense because you were surprised by it. You know, it's not something that the vet was able to prepare you for. And we all, when we grieve, go through some anger, right? So it's something like that helps validate how they feel by just acknowledging it. You're not necessarily agreeing with how they feel, right? Like intellectually, like they might be, you know, irrational. It's not about correcting them. It's simply just acknowledging how they feel from their perspective. So, any questions, guys? Throw them in chat. I am seeing chat today, so that's most excellent. And while I'm waiting for any questions to come in, I'm going to share a quote from Brene Brown that I really, really, really love. And she says, empathy is a choice, and it's a vulnerable choice. Because if I were to choose to connect with you through empathy, I would have to connect with something in myself that knows that feeling. In the face of a difficult conversation, when we see that someone's hurt or in pain, it's our instinct as human beings to try to make things better. We want to fix. We want to give advice. But empathy isn't about fixing. It's the brave choice to be with someone in their darkness. Not to race to turn on the lights so we feel better. I just love that. Right? Brene Brown, so good. It's the brave choice to be with someone in their darkness. Not to race to turn on the lights so we feel better. Risk that silence. Don't try to fix things, right? Accept that you don't need to know the answer. Just be with them in their darkness, and they'll feel connected to you, and it will build trust and strengthen your relationship. So Brene Brown has 5 empathy skills that she teaches in her book. And what? I have an image for you that I'm now trying to find. I'm guessing it didn't save. Well, that's lame. Hold on, guys. I'll get it back. There we go. What? It's gigantic. There. That's better. All right, so she's got 5 empathy skills. And yeah. So let go of the need to be right and get curious. So this one is all about perspective taking. You want to be able to walk in somebody else's shoes. Like, step 1 is try to connect with what they're feeling, what their experience is. And you do that by letting go of the need to be right and just getting curious. So the next one is to accept and don't judge. So being non-judgmental. So judgment, I found this so fascinating. Judgment disconnects people and erodes trust. We tend to be judgmental around the things we ourselves experience shame over. So especially when the person is doing worse than us in that area. So whatever we think we're bad at, or whatever we're ashamed of, right? If I was ashamed about the being X age with my face wrinkles, okay? Just trying to think of one. I should have done this beforehand. Okay, so that's my thing, is I think I look older than my age, right? And that makes me feel ashamed. When I see somebody my age or younger that I perceive to look even older than me, I'm gonna judge them for it, and I'm gonna feel superior, right? Which is why you do it. So it's one of those things, those tricky things that we all do that, I'm all over the place today, but there we go. I like this better. Thanks for your patience, guys. I appreciate it. Yeah, so that was crazy. That kind of blew my mind with judgment, that we're judgy about things we ourselves judge ourselves for. Yeah, that made sense. Okay, so we don't judge other people in areas where we feel a strong sense of self-worth. So as an aside, the more we cultivate that in ourselves, the less we're gonna judge other people, which makes our lives a lot better, increases our positive emotions, strengthens our relationships, and all kinds of good things. So the next one is that you want to really seek to understand the other person's feelings. So we've done our perspective taking, right? Where we're trying to walk in their shoes. And this is part of that, but important enough to get its own category. And so we really want to get fluent in the language of feelings, or at the very least, conversational and somewhat comfortable in the world of emotions. Yes. Hi, Random Boogeyman! Welcome! Hi! We're talking about empathy and sympathy today. So, totally off the cuff, I was thinking, how would we maybe, if we're not very fluent... Yay! Super Sea Lion! Thank you! That's lovely! And thank you, Random Boogeyman, for the gifted tier sub, man. You're just... Oh, I don't even have words, Random Boogeyman. Oh, on a roll. On a roll, my goodness. Yes, that is awesome. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Oh, speaking of subbing, one of the things I'm working on getting set up is a special Discord channel where my notes for all of these like educational coaching tidbits will be there. So you can like just, if you really love just a certain cast, you can be like, oh, what was that Punch Like Back was talking about on empathy? I want to see it. I'm going to have that all there for all of the people who sub or for people who are a patron of ours on Patreon. So anywho, that's coming. It doesn't quite exist yet, but it will. It will. And I'm totally interested in knowing what other benefits subs would really be meaningful to you guys. And I'll see if what I can't work out. So thank you. Thank you, Random Boogeyman. I would give you a hug, but a digital hug? Ah. There you go. Yeah, so to get fluent in the language of emotions, I think can happen, maybe the best way, one of the easiest ways it can happen is to start noticing how you feel. So one way that I did this for myself was I set a timer on my phone to go off like every hour, and I had a little form or like a little piece of paper, and when it went off, I would stop what I was doing, try to like figure out what I was feeling, like the exact emotion I was feeling, and to get specific on it, because we all pretty much know like, oh, this is sadness, this is anger, this is happiness, but getting the nuances of those feelings and the more subtle versions of the emotion, all kind of stuff, took work. Like I still have to work on this. So, but that's something like a little tiny trick you could do if you want to build your personal emotional IQ a bit, or EQ as they say. So yeah, and then, so this is important, right? Like seeking to understand their feelings is important because of the next step, which I put in orange because it's, I think, the most important of the 5 empathy skills, which is you want to communicate your understanding of their emotions. Oh, was it really? So how did, like what helped you the most to be able to do it? Because it's a struggle for a lot of us. Any tips you've got, Exy, I would love to hear. And maybe it's something we could do an interview around if you ever wanted to share it, like if you have more than just a quick tidbit. It is in the moment, but I think over the long term it's way harder. Because we're just like pushing them away and not dealing with it, and then they like build up and they get toxic and they start wreaking havoc in our lives. Yeah, so we want to understand our feelings so we can recognize them in somebody else and ultimately be able to communicate your understanding of that person's feelings. And Brene Brown, I'm going to do another quote because it's so good. And she says that doing this, like communicating your understanding of their feelings, can feel like the biggest risk because we can get it wrong. And if we are off base, we need the courage to circle back and correct it. And to you circle back with your curiosity and then like, oh gosh, okay, you're not angry. What are you feeling? Right? Like ask more questions. Don't let failing shut you down and then become sympathetic, right? Like that's the temptation. So yeah, you need the courage to circle back. But as long as we show up and get in that hole with people and pay attention and stay curious, we can course correct that. So there's the key takeaway for me here is that empathy is messy. It requires courage. And part of that is because there's nothing to perfect. There's nothing to perfect here. It's a practice that we dare to do with the people we care about over and over and over and over again. So if at first you try and don't succeed, try and try again. So true with empathy. And in fact, by being imperfect with somebody, I think that's one of the reasons why empathy builds connection. Because when I really think about it, and I'm in my dark space, I'm really suffering, and a friend of mine comes and tries to join me there and support me and do these 5 empathy skills, right? Like, whether or not their first understanding of what I'm going through is accurate doesn't matter. They're there with me and they're trying. And as long as they're open and they keep listening and like giving me a safe, non-judgmental space to share the experience of my pain, like that's it, right? Like empathy is a process. It's like not one event. I want my friends to be, like if someone's meeting me in my darkness, I don't want them to be perfect at it, right? Like, no, I just want them to be human. Oh, really? Yeah. Yeah. So Exy, yeah, like, that's kind of, I think, what I was talking about, or trying to talk about, which is, and I think that's true about, like, any new habit we form, we almost have, like, we have to really understand that the way we're doing things creates, like, X amount of pain, and the pain has to be great enough, right, before we're willing to change. So it makes total sense that was the arc you were on with that. And that's it, yeah, not acknowledging our emotions really is toxic over time. And then not acknowledging the emotions of the people we care about, really toxic over time too. Ooh, SS. What do you mean? That the effort can be more important than the result itself. Oh, what that brings to mind is like the gratitude practice, where we may not see the results right away, but we can just trust the process, know that by putting in the effort, the result will come, and that there is a lot of benefit that we get just through the effort. So if that's what you meant, I get it. So the last of the 5 empathy skills is really about being mindful. And that's having awareness. Okay, let me put it this way. It's about our ability to be present with somebody. So imagine we climb down that ladder and we're in the darkness with our friend and we're trying, right? There's a lot of potential traps that we can step into, and they basically all amount to reverting back to sympathy, like a sympathetic response. So we could start running away, right? We could start negating or judging them, or trying to fix it, right? Changing the conversation, doing lots of talking. There's all these things we could be doing. But if we have been doing our awareness power up, right, and we've been meditating, then all of a sudden we have the ability to be mindful and, in a sense, be watching over our behavior and aware of our behavior, and that will help us navigate and avoid those temptations to start sympathizing. So it's definitely one of those, empathy isn't about being perfect, right? Like at the core, hold on to that. And we all can be a little bit more successful at it over time, right? We will, in fact, because we're practicing it. And mindfulness is one of those key tools that we could be doing in order to boost our ability to be empathetic. Okay, so I've got some more fun quotes that I love from Brene Brown. She says, engage, stay curious, stay connected. Let go of the fear of saying the wrong thing, the need to fix it, and the desire to offer the perfect response that cures everything. That's not going to happen. You don't have to do it perfectly, just do it. She said it so much better than I have been. I love it. Yeah, that's it. Just do it. You don't have to do it perfectly. You just have to do it. To be able to stand in discomfort with people who are processing shame or hurt or disappointment or hardship, and to be able to say to them, I see you and I can hold space for this, that's the epitome of courage. Wow. Those are beautiful. Yeah. Oh. Brene Brown, I love you. Okay. So guys, the good news is that we are all capable of empathy and getting skillful at it. And it's not something that is like a fixed trait in most of us, because barring a handicap, we have a feature in our brains called mirror neurons, and they allow us to feel exactly what someone else is feeling. So that's a little bit of the neuroscience behind empathy, but you basically have these special neurons that allow you to mirror the emotion you're seeing in somebody else and actually feel it. So we all have an empathetic response naturally. So it's just about tuning into it and then using it through these skills. So kind of a funny thing, a little factoid that I adore, is that Botox apparently reduces the effectiveness of our mirror neurons and thus our empathy. And researchers think this happens because it has something to do with the fact that how Botox, when it paralyzes your face, you're no longer able to physically mirror the emotion, which inhibits our mirror neurons. So the neuron pathway involves a physical movement of our body. And when we can't do that because it's paralyzed, we literally are reducing our ability to feel the emotion we can't physically mirror. Yeah, which blows my mind and is crazy, because who would have thought, like, you know, just paralyzing these muscles right here would make me, I haven't done it, but would make me less likely to be able to feel sadness, because sadness, the universal facial like movements, is like this thing where you like, you know, that thing right there, which makes me sad if I do it. But yeah, there are universal like expressions of sadness, fear, and what, Mrs. Scott? Thank you and welcome. Hope the dish cleaning went well. Sorry about your toilet. Yeah, so Botox, whoa, if you want to be empathetic, guys, just don't do it. I recommend not doing it. If you're curious about how developed your empathy skills currently are, there's a quiz you can take that I think Mr. Scott is going to be able to put into the chat. Oh my God. Well, that's because I'm only 22, Scott, right? I mean, that's a California answer for you. Yeah, so it's not a Brene Brown related quiz, but it is kind of a fun empathy quiz that you can take just for fun, if that interests you. There it is. Thank you, Scott. So a kind of a final note about empathy here is that I think you can have too much of a good thing, and that there's a potential dark side to empathy. So I think if you identify with someone's suffering so much so that you start to lose a sense of your needs and your own emotions, then I think you're probably taking your empathy too far. So empathy is about connection, right? Connecting two people together. And this is really a scenario about you disconnecting yourself by becoming one with the other person. So healthy boundaries are really essential for connection. And that applies to empathy. And kind of the best thing I can leave you with is that your needs still matter. And empathy doesn't require you to sacrifice yourself. So there have been times where I just do not have the emotional resilience or reserves to meet somebody in their hole. Like I'm in my own hole, and I just can't go on the journey with you. So what I've been working on doing when that happens is saying something like, wow, like I thank you. First of all, thank you so much for sharing this with me. I mean, it sounds like you do your acknowledging and validating, right? Like it sounds like you're really angry or you're really upset because of this, and it makes so much sense because of why. So you do some sort of that process, and then you say, I would love to be here for you right now. Unfortunately, like I'm going through my own hardship, and I know myself, and I'm not going to be able to listen to you like I really want to be able to do, right? So you set a boundary while still having a shortened empathetic response that lets them know that you care about them. And then if you have the bandwidth to then, ask them some sort of question about like who else could they reach out to right now and help them do that, great. But you've definitely, so I hope that example helps. I don't know. The other kind of fun takeaway is last coaching stream, we talked about celebrating, right, as a power up. So celebrating with somebody else when they're feeling really good is a great way to practice empathy. So empathy doesn't have to just be climbing down into somebody's dark hole when they're suffering. You can be empathetic when they're happy and they want to celebrate with them. So if you didn't watch that stream, we have a VOD and there's a shortened version of it on YouTube. And if you want to do the celebration tool, it is underneath this beautiful screen on our panel that's for power-ups. And anytime you have something that goes really well for you, please use the tool and let me know in that if you want me to do a shout out and celebrate with you. I love doing it, and I was like through the moon excited that Super Sea Lion let me do that today because I was like, yes! It was like a dream come true. So please do it. It'll make you feel better. It will make all of us feel better too. And another little kind of fun thing, if you are a Habitica user, and I love Habitica, I talk about it all the time, you can put empathy on your habit building column. And the way I did it is here, I can just show you. Let me just show you guys. Oh no, I didn't brush the teeth. Okay. Perfect. Okay, so I called it, can you guys see this? No, you can't. Maybe, let me see how I can do this for you guys. So I put it in my habit column. Oh, good, you can see it. Perfect. And it's this one right here that I called response to suffering, and I put empathy or sympathy as like the subtitle. And then what I did is I chose, if you go into options and you edit, you can see that you can select a positive or negative button. And I made this really hard for myself, right? Because it's not something I do naturally all the time. I definitely do the shortcut of sympathy way too much, way more than I would like to. So I put it in here, and then what I do is when somebody comes to me with either with some of their suffering, right? I either respond, if I respond with empathy, I do a plus, and that gives me gold, it gives me experience, it does damage to the boss. If I respond with sympathy, I do a negative, and that takes away some of my health, some of my mana, lets the boss do some of the damage to our team. So thank you, Scott, for putting that. So that's part of, so that's one way that you can build an empathetic response into your habits through Habitica. And if you are interested in Habitica, it's free, and you can join our party. I have my lovely party up here. And we have fun together. We take down bad guys, and we ride animals and build up animals and get stuff done. And okay, perfect. So if you guys really like this topic, I do recommend Brene Brown's book, Dare to Lead. It's talks a lot in there about empathy and many, many other leadership skills. So anyways, food for thought. And so perfect. That brings us our educational tidbit to a close. If you guys have any questions, let me know.